What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Ministry in the Markets, where we strive to be people who understand the times to know what we ought to do. My name is Jamal Rose, and I am not a financial advisor. So please do not take anything that I say or do in these videos as financial advice. Please do your own DD and or due diligence slash research. You know what is best for you and your family in these financial times. Cool. That was the intro. Let's get into the info. This is the S&P 500 on the 1 minute chart. Today, I'm going to show you guys how I code indicators from either DeepSeek or ChatGPT. Personally, I'm using DeepSeek right now just because people have put out videos of the difference between the two. Oh, DeepSeek could take away your data and this, that, and the third. Verizon has all my data. Google already has all my data. Well, they can take away your intellectual property. Look, if my codes work that much where they're going to eventually take it away, prayerfully, I'll have made plenty of money at that time. So I really don't care. So I dove into DeepSeek just because they have a better reasoning model than ChatGPT. Now, if you go over to ChatGPT, you will see how this says Deep Think R1. So this is the reason one. This is the reason model, and it has a better thought process about how it goes through things. So this is what I created. Can you create a code with? It was already a code that it had already created for me. So I was just asking it to update it with some extra lines in between it. So it went into deep think mode, right? Quote unquote deep seek. And then it spit out this code. Well, after this code, what happened was I got an error code in the Pine script version 5 that TradingView uses. So after that, I plugged it in. I copied and pasted the code or the error code, plugged it in, and it said, okay, user is getting an error code in PineScript code. Let me check what the problem is. The error message, blah, 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 blah. And it's going through a deeper thought process of how to fix it. Then it spits out this. So I'm going to take this code and see if it works. And I have a feeling it's going to work right off the bat. Well, technically, it's not right off the bat because we've already done this once. See the error code. However, between using ChatGPT to do this and DeepSeek to do this, what takes me hours, oh, dang it. Lied to you guys. I'm sorry. Got another error code, but this error code seems to be a little bit different than the last one. So let's go back over here. I'm just copying, pasting the error code into DeepSeek. It's not rocket science. Shout out to Nick is Meta. Maybe YouTube him. He's the one that I got this from maybe like a year and a half ago on YouTube. I saw a video talking about how you can code a trading strategy essentially based on ChatGPT. So now I'm just doing it with DeepSeek, but I've done it with ChatGPT for the longest. The problem is that I would continually get error codes all the time. But I mean, unbeknownst to me, I don't know how to code. So, I'm talking to somebody who does code for a living. He's like, dude, like ChatGPT took over the game with coding because what would have took you days to do, if not longer, especially if you didn't know coding, um, you can do within an hour, especially if you know coding and you know what you're talking about, then, you have a better, ChatGPT has a better basis of what to go off of. If your logic isn't where it needs to be as far as what you're prompting it to do, it's not going to be beneficial for you in the long run. So you really do need to have some type of understanding of what you're doing so that you can prompt it correctly, if that makes sense. Um, don't give it too, if you want really good codes, just let it do its thing. Don't give it too crazy inputs. I want to do all of this craziness. And it's like, man, just let's see if this worked. I think it worked. Oh, I got a warning. What happened? What's the warning? Oh, doesn't matter. Let's go. The condition parameter, if accessible, argument. All right. All right. All right. This is not awful. This is not awful at all. What just happened? What just happened? Okay. This is not awful. Not what I was expecting. So, for context purposes, that is what I created before I just created what I created, if that makes sense. So this is the middle pivot point based on the previous day high and low, on also a 14-day period average of how the S&P 500 moves. And so it's going to plot expected highs and expected lows on the chart as soon as market opens, right? And so we had data today, CPI data dumped. I should have known that this was a liquidity sweep and I should have bought right at open. I actually shorted, not based on this sell signal, but I shorted at open. I should have taken calls anyways. Got stopped out. But I knew once I looked back over, am I sharing the right screen? Okay, good. I am. I knew once I looked back over for some decent supply and demand zones around February 5th, we had a solid low right here. And so some people take their supply and demand zones at higher time frames. I don't necessarily do that because uh, you can really spot them on lower time frames. So there's that right there. So right at the point where things get really wicky is where I draw the line. Now I could draw another line down here. Don't necessarily need to because once you get a touch in demand zone, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to really push through it. I don't want to say 9 times out of 10. Typically, you don't really push through it. You touch it and you rock it the other way. All right, moving on. So I drew that line right there to show you where CPI data dropped us to this morning, right to it, like on the very first candle of the news. Boom, right to it. Okay. Got down below it a little bit, came back up, didn't got back down below it, didn't stay below it too long, right? Right at open, we're above it, came back in it for 2 minutes and then launched out of it, and you haven't seen that price since. Okay. So great. I had this line drawn out here at open. These um, essential expected highs and expected lows and the pivot point. Price did touch the pivot point exactly, which is great. I love that. I absolutely love that. But I wanted to add an extra tier of support and resistance between what happens when you go past the expected low. What is the parameters that would say, hey, you're a little bit overextended here. Most likely you're going to get a reversal, either on the highs or the lows. And so that's what I asked this um, previous code that I just coded. I was like, hey, can you do that? And this is what it gave me. This purple line, let's see what that purple line is. Secondary low. Okay, we didn't necessarily get to it. We have this yellow line. Where is the secondary high? Um, okay. Not a big fan of that. I'm not. I'm not a big fan of that just because, which I like this pivot point. Okay. This pivot point actually lines up perfectly with. So let me double check these. Let me double check these. Let's turn this one off. So this pivot point right here, my previous pivot point, right? That one right there touched it, was the top of it, and then price went down ever since. I like this pivot point a little bit more as price breaks through it. That's where I'm comfortable with confirmations of exiting the position. Now, the reason why I like this pivot point better is because 604 and 36 cents. So if I go take you over to, come on, come on, come on, here, share screen. All right, cool. If I take you over to Robinhood Legends, right? They have a pivot point, um, support and resistance lines. Look at where the pivot point is, that orange line, 604 and 37 cents. The one I just coded on DeepSeek. Yes, that's the code, but let's see the actual screen. Share. All right. 604 and 36 cents. So 1 cent difference right there. All right. That kind of gives me a ballpark of level of understanding of like, okay, maybe I'm not as far off as it might look. So without flipping screens, the bottom support for the pivot point of Robin Hood Legends is 598 and 92 cents. Mine is 597 and 81 cents. So that's about a almost $1 off. I'm not a big fan of that. I would rather than be a little bit closer. If this was up a little bit higher and the data just touched down here and lifted off, I would probably leave it as is, but I think I'm going to still do a little bit more tweaking just to kind of get a better understanding of how we can get better looks. Price literally went to the expected high yesterday from the code that I had on the other one, but let's just see how this did as far as expected highs and expected lows at open for hmm believe this is the expected high at 607 and 12 cents, but my other one had a better capture. So it looks like price is just going to go to the pivot point and kind of just end it there. Let's see how the day goes. Interesting. All right. Looks like we just came into our support and, or excuse me, our supply zone, this red cloud up here, and this is our demand zone right there. So, all right, maybe I can use this indicator. Still going to need some tweaking. That's really it. That's how you code an indicator through either ChatGPT or DeepSeek. Ask it what you want it to do, put it in PineScript version 5, and then from that point, you just plug it into the Pine editor. If you get an error code, copy and paste that error code into the DeepSeek or ChatGPT, whatever AI you're using, and it should give you a better overall code. And if you don't want to use DeepSeek and you're like, they're going to steal your whatever, your data because I'm just nervous about that type of stuff. So basically, in ChatGPT, what you want to do is you want to go to, let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen, or else when you do this, it's just going to take a long time to get a good code. So normally this is what ChatGPT was on. So I'm thinking what happened was when ChatGPT went down, like for 24 hours, something like that, maybe last week, they were updating this. And so now you have the reason on it where it takes a deep, see, think before responding. So it just takes a deeper thought process on how it wants to answer your question the best way possible. So if you want to use ChatGPT, you're comfortable using ChatGPT and you don't want to use DeepSeek, that's how you would do it. All right. Love y'all. God bless y'all. Catch you on the next one.